Hello, Governor. I got this from Amsterdam. And it has a bicycle because they love the bicycle there. Okay, let's. Okay. Sorry, I had a series of brain farts. I just didn't know where to proceed from there. Okay, before we start the video, this is not a fork. It's not. You know how many comments I got last time saying, "Why are you holding a microphone on a fork?" First of all, what if I did? Anti-consumerism, am I right? What if I held it on an elephant because I just have an elephant available? It's like I will do what I will do. There is no need to be super with the people and have something, aesthetic for the cameras. I'm a very low budget person. And that is in all areas of life, except for charity. Yes, I'm saying that to show off 100%. That was a joke, okay? Number 2, as you can tell, I'm not feeling amazing today because my period is in 2 days. So, we're just going to suck it up and we're going to do it. That's what life is about, Number 3, this is a DIY situation that I don't want you to make fun of because I'm trying to cover my elbow. Sue me. Actually, don't do that. A lot of Americans watch me. Hello, everybody. This is the Hippiearab Podcast with your host, Farah, Hippiearab. I will list the 3 every single time, and I have no problem doing that. But you must know that I actually have a lisp in Arabic, ironically, with the R, with the ra. It comes out as va. Maybe I'm just rushing at heart. Today, I'm going to be doing part 2 of surah al-kahf. And by doing, I mean talking about the stories in the chapter of the cave. Last time, we talked about the first 2 stories, which are the men of the cave and the 2 men and the 2 gardens. Today, I want to talk about the story of Moses with his companion and the story of the man of the 2 horns. Supposedly, that is what he's called. Now, I will also be going over some other aspects of the chapter because the chapter doesn't solely consist of these 4 stories. They consist of what I like to call in-betweeners, stuff that is between those stories. I almost choked on my own saliva, so let's get started before I manage to do that. Now, what sets this chapter apart from other chapters in the Quran is that Muslims read this chapter every Friday, religiously. Usually I use the word religiously in non-religious contexts, so in this context it didn't really make any sense. But you might be thinking, what makes this chapter so special? That's a good question, and I knew the answer in the episode before this episode, so you should go watch the episode before this episode. Some people call me brilliant in marketing, and I think I believe it. Before we get started, I would just like to note that I actually incorrectly recited a verse. In the first episode, I incorrectly recited the 8th verse, and I forgot to add wa before the rest of it. I said, إِنَّ لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدٌ جُرُزًا. It's supposed to be وَإِنَّ لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. That's just something, because, see, us Muslims, we take this seriously, okay? If we recite something wrong, we have to fix it. Okay, so last time we left at Ayah 45, which was talking about the nature of this life. It was talking about the parable that says, and the parable of this worldly life is like the plants of the earth, thriving when sustained by the rain we send down from the sky. Then they soon turn into chaff scattered by the wind, and Allah is fully capable of doing all things. We basically talked about the fleeting nature of this world, like how this all of this is nothing compared to what we have after, and that we shouldn't get so attached to it. And today, before I delve into the story of Moses, I actually wanted to talk about the verses in between, because what it does is it shows the image of the day of judgment, the hour, basically, when all of us will be resurrected and we're just standing there waiting to be judged, And it's not a fun, light read. It's a deep and heavy read. But not heavy in that way. It's heavy as in when I was reading it thoroughly and I was taking notes, like I actually cried in the middle of taking notes because it's like this is the reality. This is going to be the reality. And wow, I'm like starting off really strong. I feel like I should have done an introduction or something. That's not how we do things around here, actually, but whatever. First, I'm going to read the translation of the verses that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to delve deep into the specifics of it. So, Ayah 47 says, "Beware of the day we will blow the mountains away, and you will see the earth laid bare. And we will gather all humankind, leaving none behind." Oh my god, that rhymed. Sorry. It actually all rhymes in Arabic, but it never rhymes in English. Not that it's supposed to. Quran is in Arabic. By the way, the English translations of the Quran is not the Quran. That's just something that, sorry, came to mind. I forgot to say that the translation, because there are so many translations. It's like, this is not actually the Quran. The Quran is in Arabic. You can read the translations to get the understanding of it. This is such a tangent. Oh my days. And then Ayah 48 says, "They will be presented before your Lord in rows, and the deniers," okay, the people who were like, "I don't believe in all of this," will be told, "You have surely returned to us all alone as we created you the first time, although you always claimed that we would never appoint a time for your return." And then Allah says, "And the record of deeds will be laid open, and you will see the wicked in fear of what is written in it. They will cry, 'Woe to us! What kind of record is this that does not leave any sin, small or large, unlisted?' They will find whatever they did present before them, and your Lord will never wrong anyone." Scary. That's so scary, it's not even funny. On that day, we will be stripped of every material thing, ever, including our clothes, including abstract things, by the way, like pride and self-infatuation. That's going to be wiped off of every human being. Like, there will be fear and terror in people in ways the human mind right now, you and me, can't fathom. We will be in our original form, we'll be naked, we'll be trembling, we'll be terrified. And even the people that we think are the best of the best, the people that wake up in the middle of the night and pray, like, you're like, this person is like one of the best Muslims I've ever seen in my life. That person is going to be shaking on that day. It's like, it doesn't really matter what you did. It's just the weight of that day and the fact that Allah is present. And that this is it. There's no coming back now. This is it. And sometimes I imagine it and how it looks like. Like, is it like all black, and are we standing in rows? And I just try to imagine the image. And as many times as I do that, as many times as I try, I can never. I can never truly encapsulate what that day is. Except what the Quran tells me that it is. But that day is... It's a really scary day, man. Now, one of my favorite names of Allah is al-Latif, the most subtle. And on that day when we're going to have all of our deeds, small or big, minuscule, the size of a mosquito or the size of a mountain, only Allah knows the true intention behind all of these deeds. Everything that you've done on earth. It's like no one actually knows why you're doing what you're doing. But you know deep down inside. But guess who also knows deep down inside? Allah. And He knows that about the 8 billion and the past civilizations. I'm not even going to try to calculate how many people existed ever. But just let that settle in. Allah knows the intention of every single deed. You may look like you're doing all the right things. Really, people might tell you, "Wow, you're an amazing Muslim. I wish I could be like you." Sometimes people tell me, they're writing in the comments, they're like, "Farah, you're so pure." I'm like, guys, you don't even know. You know what I mean? But the scary thing is that some people might do it for attention. Like, they do everything that they do to get the gains of this world. It doesn't really matter what they get in the hereafter. To them, that's not important. It's like, I just want the power and I want the control here. Because if I do the right things and I like kiss up to the right people, I can get what I want, you know? And come the day of judgment, everything that person did is going to amount to zero, if not something in the negative plane, honestly, you know? And Allahu Alam, what happens to that person? Allah is going to do with that person whatever Allah wills, you know? And there's this other case where a person, a Muslim, might seem to the outside world and to their Muslim community like they're doing everything wrong. Like, we look at this person and we're like, I don't know why they call themselves Muslim to begin with. You know, because some Muslims have this thought about other Muslims. It's like there's no heart and compassion in any way, shape, or form. But Allah knows the intentions full and well of that person that is being judged by a lot of Muslims. You know, and it's like, who are these Muslims to judge? I don't even know. But Allah knows. Allah knows what is in the heart of this person. Because Allah knows the insides of our hearts better than we know the insides of our hearts. And so maybe this person is, let's say, I love this example. As you can tell, the hijab. I love the example of the hijab. Because it's so, first of all, it's easy. Astaghfirullah, not like that, but like, it's easy to use because I've played both parts. I've played both roles. Being the one that doesn't wear the hijab, and I've gotten so much judgment, you know? And, you know, people really thought I was like a lost cause, that's it. And then wearing the hijab and people thinking that I'm the most pious woman to exist. Wow. Amazing. It's just honestly, wow. And the contents of my heart throughout all of this, only Allah knows. And I know some parts, you know, when I reflect. But I'm using the example of the hijab because, you know, there might be this girl, this Muslim girl, that doesn't wear the hijab. You know, but she has this fear every day, every night in her heart of Allah. She knows, you know, she knows that she's not wearing it and she needs to wear it. And it's just like this divide in her heart that's sometimes it makes the heart even palpitate. That's the word. But she might do other stuff that is so full of compassion, so full of love, so full of empathy, which is, by the way, what all Muslims are supposed to be like. Like, we think the hijab is the most, it's like one of the things. It's not a pillar of Islam. I'm not saying don't wear the hijab. I'm saying to be a Muslim is to be of excellent character. And maybe this girl had excellent character. Come the day of judgment, Allah, first and foremost, above anything else, is the most gracious, the most merciful. No, I'm not saying what's going to unfold. Only Allah knows. But I'm saying that Allah knows what's in our hearts, and we barely get to know what's in our hearts because we don't even take the time to reflect. And so what's making us think that we know what is in the hearts of people and the intentions of people and their actions? And so on that day, you know, all of our actions are going to be on display and we're going to be judged thoroughly for it. There are exceptions to some people who will pass without reckoning, you know? And honestly, I have not taken the time to look that up. But I think because there's many categories. There's this one hadith about 70,000 people, but that has to do with their excellence in Tawheed. That's a whole separate thing. But I'm just saying, like, you can't even mentally prepare yourself for this image, let alone actually living it. All we can do is really to just do our best, you know? And then that'll really take care of us on that day. It's because it's like we're going to be terrified either way. Oh my God, that rhymed. I need to calm down every time something rhymes. It's just something satisfying. I can't explain it. Now, after this image, we are told about the enmity between Adam and Iblis, which is Satan. And Allah says, and remember when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam. And so they did, but not Iblis, who was one of the jinn. Jinn is basically this creature, and Iblis himself is made of smokeless fire, whereas angels are made of light. Jinn, which is kind of like spirits, is not the same as the genie from the bottle from Aladdin. Okay? I know it's tempting to think this way, but it's not the same thing. Anyway, let's keep going. And so Allah says, but he rebelled against the command of his Lord. Would you then take him and his descendants as patrons instead of me, although they are your enemy? What an evil alternative for the wrongdoers to choose. The first sin ever committed, ever, is pride. In the heavens, not the earth, the heavens. Because we can think of it like, oh, here. No. In the heavens. Outside of all of this, outside of space and time, it was pride. In the presence of Allah, in the presence of the angels. And all of this stemmed in the belief that Iblis had, which is, I'm better than you. You know. Not even respectfully, it's just, I'm better than you. So, like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna bow down to you. And it's not even to Adam that he's saying this to Allah. And Allah knew it was gonna unfold like this. But here, Allah is talking about him, Shaitan, and his descendants. He says, would you then take him and his descendants as patrons? Who are his descendants exactly? It's people who aren't willing to bow down to the truth. And to bow down, you need to humble yourself. You need to put yourself aside and you need to see the truth for what it is, despite you liking it or not. You know, just the same way that Shaitan, Iblis, was really right then and there, and Allah told him, do this, and he was like, no. Some people, by the way, know the truth, they just actually refuse it. It's people who have this inflated sense of themselves that they even take themselves as gods. You know, like astaghfirullah, but like there are people like that, you know. And it's just like we take these people as well as Iblis as like people that we follow and admire. Because by the way, this happens like more than you think. Like, you know, Muslims who are so into Hollywood or even K-pop. Ew. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. That was unnecessary, uncalled for. But I'm talking about other artists as well. Rappers and all of these things. Like, dude, you know more about the people of the hellfire than you know about the people of heaven. Congratulations, that's amazing for you. That's not good. That's really friggin' scary. And that's really, we need to check on that. We need to fix ourselves. Like, what's going on? Something is so off. And this is kind of a tangent of this, but I just noticed how Iblis really infused himself into society and he works through people, you know, in ways we don't even see, we don't even know. But we're played so easily. It's like we're not firm in our faith enough to know, to realize what's actually happening, to notice the truth for what it is. Skipping a little bit ahead to Ayah 54, Allah says, we have surely set forth in this Quran every kind of lesson for people. But humankind is the most argumentative of all beings. That's not a compliment, you guys. The fact that Allah said this about us. Of course, He created us. He knows us better than we know ourselves. But this is like, okay, let's unravel this because of its truth. So we all have an ego, you know, and it's varying for some people, but like the most saturated image of the ego is the need to be right. The need to be in the correct position and the need to be esteemed and elevated in the eyes of people. You know, like you are the biggest person in the room, you are the smartest, the best, the whatever in the room. Because in the mind of this person with the big inflated ego, if they are not seen as right, they will believe to be perceived as incompetent. And if that's the case, then people are going to diminish their self-worth and there will be no validation from people. And that is a direct blow to that person's self-image and self-worth in their eyes. It's like if people see me as nothing, then I'm really nothing. You know, that's the person with the huge ego. They feed off of the validation of people. Now, what does this have to do with the fact that Allah said they are the most argumentative, or humankind is the most argumentative? It's the fact that we don't own up to things. Like, we'll come up with excuses. And this is excuses in all types of circumstances. Like, why did you treat this person in this way? Oh, well, it's because they did X, Y, and Z. As long as I'm perceived as not wrong, I'm okay. But once someone calls me out, it's like I get into defensive mode and I have to defend myself. It's like, no, own up to it. Own up to it. Why are you arguing? Own up to the fact. Own up to the truth. The other day, and I really don't want it to say the story because I wanted to keep it between me and Allah, but it's something that's stuck in my head and it's something that I want to do a lot more of. And I hope in saying this, I inspire someone else. But the other day I was in the gym and I was in a corner doing my pull-ups, okay? And I was like, I'm just gonna film my pull-ups to see how my form looks. And I'm not the type of person to like share videos of myself, except to like 3 people. And I'm like, how's my form look, you know? And someone saw me filming and they were on the opposite side of the room. And they were like, why are you filming? Stop filming. I'm like, why should I stop filming? They were like, because I'm here. I'm like, yeah, but you're on the opposite side of the room. You're not in the video. And she's like, yeah, but still, I just don't want you to film. And I got so argumentative. It's like, I forgot to respect her as a person, actually, because of how argumentative I got. And I remember, how my ego felt at that time. It felt so injured. I was like, who does she think she is telling me not to film, you know? And it's like a basic human thing to ask that. And it's okay for that person to not want to be filmed accidentally. And so I saw that point of view. And I remember she was about to leave from the gym. And I ran back to her. And I was like, I really apologize, by the way, for like talking to you how I talked to you. And I completely understand the fact that you didn't want to be filmed in any way. Even if you were just in the room and you could have accidentally ended up in the video, whatever it is. You know, but I really apologize for the way that I treated you. And, please forgive me. Please accept this apology from me. And she was kind enough to accept that apology from me. But afterwards, I felt like this weight was taken off of my back. Because it's like, I'd rather apologize and like own up to the things here than to have to do that on the day of judgment. I don't care if I look like the smaller person, whatever that may look like to anyone, because some people don't believe in apologizing. But I apologized because I was really scared I might have wronged her without realizing. And so that's just something that whoa, I need to start doing more of. Even if I think that I'm wronging someone in any way, apologizing is not going to take anything away from me because I'm a pretty strong individual. I have enough strength, enough as it is, It's just, I'm so scared of wronging anyone. That's my only fear. And it's attached directly to Allah. It's not attached to people in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? That, wow, was such a tangent. But it actually ties the verses that talked about the Day of Judgment and this verse, the argumentative nature of the human being. I think it ties them together really well. And I didn't even plan that, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, we need to move on because I think I'm taking a little bit longer than I thought. Now I'm finally moving on to the story of Moses and the companion. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, usually when people talk about this story, they skip right to the middle of the story. They don't like skip to it, but like they kind of hurry through the beginning and the end of the story. It's like they go to the parts where the companion of Moses does all of these terrible things, and Moses keeps asking why. Or should I say Musa? I feel like saying Moses is like, oh, Romanized, Musa. I'm going to say Musa because it feels like even lighter on the lips. Gosh. Anyway, Musa was like, bro, what are you doing? Not like that. He didn't say it like that, but he was kind of like that. He was like, why are you doing what you're doing? And we're basically taught through these incidents. They're not really incidents, but we're taught through these things that there is a greater wisdom behind the things that happen around us and to us. It's just we don't have any knowledge of this whatsoever. How hard we may try, even, would not bring us any step closer to having this knowledge. At the end of the day, it might even be better for us as a result of what happened, But the beginning part of the story and the end of the story is like, to me, has very subtle meanings, but when you deeply internalize what happened, you'll be like, wow, that really happened in my life too, And the middle of the story, there's a lot of wisdom behind it. I'm not going to go so deep into it because people talk about it extensively, and there's so much wisdom behind it. It's just we do not give attention, or I would say enough attention, to the beginning and end of the story. So that's what I'm going to do. The ayah that starts the story says, and remember when Moses said to his young assistant, I will never give up until I reach the junction of the two seas, even if I travel for ages. So basically Musa was told that he would meet a servant of Allah at the junction of the two seas somewhere for something. We don't know. He was just told this. How? I don't know. I'm not going to act like I know. Okay? All I know is that Musa is also Kalim Allah, the one who spoke with Allah. That's all I'm going to say. So that was his mission. He was really focused on reaching the junction of the two seas. Musa became so attached to this goal, so much so that he literally told his boy servant with him, I'm not going to stop till I get to this junction. So Musa alayhi salam attached expectations to how this would unfold and how this would look like. Just like us when we project our future, when we try to imagine what we have going on in our future plans and future goals, we try to imagine how it's all going to play out, how it's all going to look like. The same thing Moses did, Musa. Oh my God, I need to rewire my brain a little bit. But, despite them being prophets, all of them, except Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he really was perfect. But Musa alayhi salam, despite him being a prophet, he was human, and he really, to me, he's one of the most humans of the prophets. And imagine that made sense. But what I mean by that is he really has like raw emotion, and he has this like raw ambition, just like you see in us. Like, obviously he's of a different level because he's a prophet, but it's just like I relate with Musa so much, So he has this goal. He's like, I got to get to this junction of the two seas. That literally became his focus. Like, he was so set on reaching the junction of the two seas. It almost forewent his mind why he was going there. The way I see it, it's like he was so set on this specific junction. It's like he forgot he was going there to meet a servant of Allah, the one who was given knowledge. Then something interesting happens. The fish that they caught at some point in their travel, which was dead at that point, by the way, suddenly sprung back to life and jumped out of the boat and into the sea. And the boy servant that was with Musa forgot to make any mention of this. And so they kept traveling more and more. And at some point they actually reached the junction, but Musa didn't find anyone. So they continued, they persisted. Or I should say Musa persisted. They just kept going. And now they don't have this fish in the boat. And so when Musa realized there's no fish in the boat, he's like, where's the fish? Bro, you were supposed to look. You're supposed to keep eye on the fish. Sorry. It's just, this is how I imagine it played out. I'm not making fun of it in any way, shape, or form, but this is really how my brain plays it out, okay? And then the boy servant is like, oh my God, it jumped out and I actually forgot to tell you. وَمَا أَنْسَانِيَهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَهُ. And Shaitan made me forget to tell you what had happened. And then Musa is like, oh my God, that's what we wanted. Now, okay, at first I was like, maybe he said this in like an aggravated way, like he was talking about the fish. It's like the fish flew out of the boat and he's like, that was our lunch. That's what we wanted. But after a little bit of just some thinking and introspection, I realized that he wasn't actually after the fish. He said, ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِي. Like that, like, oh my God, like a Eureka moment. He was like, oh my God, wait. I wasn't looking for the junction of the two seas. I was looking for the servant who Allah said would be at the junction of the two seas. Do you know what I mean? So, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. So, Musa got so fixated on the idea of the junction of the two seas. He kind of forgot his primary goal. And you can see this in us like so much. It's coded in us in a very actually closely funny way because it's so close to how this all played out. For us, we have these primary goals of being at peace, being secure, and having a home, and having a family, being whole, feeling whole and fulfilled in our lives. These are ultimate goals that we have, primary goals. These are the things that we ultimately want. We also might have secondary goals to aid in achieving our primary goals. So like we might want to get accepted in this university in this specific city because we think that'll bring us happiness. That'll give us the feeling of achievement and success. And we want to be in a relationship with this person because they're going to make us feel whole and fulfilled. If I'm in a relationship with this person, I'm talking so fast because I'm so excited. If I'm going to be in a relationship with this person, then all of my troubles and worries are going to go away and life is going to be amazing. Or this specific position at this workplace, if I get it, I'm going to have an amazing salary and I'm going to be rich and I'm going to have money. And we all know that money buys happiness. So it's like these secondary goals are kind of blinding us from our primary goals. We get into all of these and we realize, like, I'm not happy. We don't actually realize this amidst all of it. We realize it at kind of the very end. It's like, this isn't actually what I wanted, And we get so entranced by these secondary goals, we completely forget our primary goals. Like, let's throw out the window of being at peace. Because this relationship, like, for example, is really toxic. But it's all I ever wanted, That's not all you ever wanted, sweetheart. All you ever wanted was to have a stable relationship with someone that you care about and cares about you. That's all you wanted, And so the way I saw it is like, oh my God, this is us. It's like, I don't know. This was such a eureka moment for me. I was like, dude, we're so like Musa in a way we can't even fathom. We're like, oh my God, wait. My primary goal wasn't to get into this university. Because, like, let's say I got rejected. It's like, I'm not going to be sad about that. Why would I soak in that, like, whole rejection when my primary goal is to just get an education, to feel like I'm doing positive work in the world and in my life? It's like it doesn't have to necessarily be in this university or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a university example, but like I know a lot of people or like a lot of students who are being rejected from their dream universities. It's like that's not your primary goal. And if it is, I'm a little concerned. I am a little bit concerned, Primary goals are bigger than that. They're bigger than just these small things, by the way, when you see it in retrospect. It's like these things, by the way, are really tiny when you look at the entire scope of your life. And then the middle of the story, that is the story of Musa and the companion, the one that is given knowledge, I think, I'm going to be honest, is self-explanatory. Like, Musa is like, can I join you? Can I be with you when you do everything that you do? And can you teach me? And then his companion, which by the way, his name is Khidr, he's like, you're not patient enough to go with me. And Musa's like, please, like, let me. And then he is showing Khidr time and time again that he's really not patient to endure all of the stuff that he's going through with this companion. And so I think that's like self-explanatory. I'm not going to go so deep into it. But the thing that caps off the story is at a point, the companion that is with Musa is kind of like he's had enough, you know? He's like, you know, you've asked me one too many times why, and I told you every time to be patient, and I will explain to you why I did what I did later. And so in the end, Khidr, the companion of Musa, says, هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا. He said, this is the parting between the both of us. I will explain to you what you could not bear patiently. And I heard this tafsir a long time ago by this girl. She said something along the lines of, both of them are these great men. You know, they really are. I mean, Musa is a prophet. Musa endured Pharaoh, the Pharaoh. Musa was given the commandments from Allah. Musa was commanded to lead Bani Israel. Musa is Musa. I mean, come on. What is this great man? And Khidr is this man, or some people say he was an angel into a man, but he was bestowed knowledge from Allah. He had all of this knowledge granted to him from Allah, you know, and by the command of Allah, he did what he did. And so there are these two great men. But just because they're great doesn't mean they're going to be amazing together. They had to part ways. You know, just like in life, we part ways with people. That doesn't make them a bad person. That doesn't make you a bad person. It's like we really like to think that in relationships, there has to be a good person, there has to be a bad person. You know, like we love the idea of black and white. Like there is good and there is evil. It's like, why did you stop being friends with this person? Oh, well, they're just evil and I'm actually the good person. It's like, no, that does not have to be the case. It's just this matter of you just don't understand each other anymore. You are not patient with each other anymore. It's just like you're speaking two different languages, you know? And it's like there is nothing to gain from this friendship at this point. And so we part ways. That doesn't make any of us bad. That doesn't make you evil. That doesn't make me evil. In fact, we could both be really good people. It's just, that's it, you know? And this is the case in divorces too. It's like people really want to pin the blame on one party. It's like, these are human beings. These are not devils. These are not angels. We're all human beings. When we part ways, both parties can be good, you know? And obviously there are situations where there is this toxicity and everything, but at the end of the day, we really are human beings, you know? And so, هذا فراق بيني وبينك, this is simply just the difference between us and we have to part ways. It's like, I don't feel like we're speaking the same language anymore. And that's it. And that's okay. And we'll just like continue leading our lives. And we'll find people who understand us better. That's okay. You know, that's something that I got from that girl that explained this, you know, cap to the story. But I just like, I fell in love with the interpretation because it's just so relevant to our lives in ways, you know, you can't find anywhere else. And then finally, we reach the last story of Dhul Qarnayn, the man of the two horns. I have no idea if that's how it correctly translates, because they say it's not really horns. Some say it's the east and the west, because basically this man in power, Dhul Qarnayn, was a man that Allah has given everything to. He has given knowledge, he's given the manpower, he's given money, everything, you know? And honestly, I'm not going to go too deep into this story because I don't think I have enough time. But also because I didn't look into it so, you know, deeply. Because I think the thing I looked the most deeply into, if that makes any sense, was the beginning of the story of Moses. the one about the fish. And when I found out about that, I actually spent like hours writing about that. And so I didn't dedicate so much time to this story, but that's because I talked about the story in another one of my episodes, but not the previous episode. I talked about this in the episode that was titled, I Want to Do Everything and I Think You Do Too. Because I talk about Dhul Qarnayn as this man who Allah placed on earth to spread justice across the land. He was literally put on this earth to establish the rule of Allah. So his task was pretty major, you know. The world, by the way, which is kind of, vast land. And so he was given everything. And I argued that we're also given everything. It's just we don't realize it. We're given our brain. We're given the education that we have been blessed with. We are given a home. We are given a community. We are given everything. And we're here complaining that, what can I do in this life? What difference can I make in this life? It's like you are actually given everything. You just don't realize it. And it's kind of how you perceive this everything. Because for me, everything is correlated to needs. I have all of my needs met, then I can thrive. I can soar. I can do insane things. And this is every time I read about the story, this is all I get. This is the most inspiration I get from this chapter, actually, is when I see Dhul Qarnayn is just going all over the land, enforcing the rule of Allah and glorifying Allah. And he's attributing everything back to Allah. So much so that when some people asked him to build a wall between them and Ya'juj and Ma'juj, which are people that will come out of where they're hiding at the hour, they were like, can we give you something in return? He's like, you don't need to give me anything because Allah gave me everything. And to me that stands out a lot, because it's like, when you do everything liwajh Allah, for the sake of Allah, you don't need people to give you anything. It's like, actually, like, I prefer that you don't give me anything because I don't want anything here. I want it on the day of judgment. And it's not bad if you want it here. It's like, have it here and have it in the day of judgment, because this is something that my friend is teaching me. We're not meant to be poor here and rich there. We can be rich here and rich in the hereafter, But it's just, don't indulge in the things that you're given here. Just do it for the sake of Allah and attribute it all back to Allah. Everything that Allah gave you is not even yours. Like this money that you have, it's not yours. It goes back to Allah. And so why are you not donating some of it? Why are you being stingy with it? Why aren't you buying your family nice things with it? With what you can afford, of course, like we're given everything, and we can make such a huge impact with the things that we're given. It's just some people nowadays are really good at finding excuses. And Dhul Qarnayn is here to show us that no excuses, no excuses. That's a saying that I made up. I'm hoping it catches on. I don't know. I really want to be a trendsetter. Anyway, that's the thing that I get from this story. If you get anything else, honestly, if you see it from a different perspective, I'd love to hear it, because this is all I've ever seen in this story. All I've ever noticed in this story is the ambition of Dhul Qarnayn and the steadfastness that he had, to establish the rule of Allah in the land, and to just have nothing in return, to take nothing in return, because he doesn't need it. All he needs is the pleasure of Allah. That's all that matters. And to me, that's just so inspiring. Like, that's the reason, after reading this, that's the reason I keep going. Honestly, that's the thing that keeps me just persistent and that keeps me on my game every single time. Because if I'm looking for the validation of people, and if I'm looking for the praise of people or whatever people might give me, it's like, that's going to diminish over time. And then my motivation is going to diminish over time. I'd rather take all of my energy and all of my ambition from the source of infinity, from the source of everything, the source of the origin of the beginning. I know that made no sense. I actually made it to sound like that so it would make any sense. But I'd rather go to Allah, and I'd rather get everything I have from Allah, which at the end, everything is from Allah. But it's like, that's it. I'm content with that, you know? And I will act responsibly with the things that I'm given, because at the end of the day, they're not mine. Everything belongs back to Allah. And so I'm going to do whatever pleases Allah with the things that I'm given. Yeah, and that's that actually. There is the closing page of Surah al-Kahf, which talks about the Day of Judgment and the losers and the winners. And it has one of my favorite verses that talks about, if the oceans were ink for writing the words of my Lord, it would run out before I could get another ocean to continue writing the words of my Lord. That's one of my favorite verses ever. I love the Quran, man. Sorry, this wasn't very organized. I am aware. But I really wanted to get an episode out because I kind of procrastinated in this, but only because of the, grand sense of the task. It's like whenever I'm dealing with the Quran, I'm scared to jump into it out of fear that I may make a mistake or something like that. But it's just, I love the Quran, man. This was not at all a comprehensive episode. This was just more so an episode for the things that stand out to me from Surah al-Kahf. But today I actually managed to talk about something that didn't really stand out to me. Because the part where Allah talks about the fish and, Musa and his companion, that part I always kind of I didn't gloss over, I just never paid attention to. But when I looked into the interpretation and explanation of what it meant, I was dumbfounded, actually. And to think that the whole Quran is just waiting for me to seek it out and to look at its explanation and interpretation and everything, I'm appalled by the idea that I might waste my life without doing that. And I'm scared. I'm not really acting out of fear, but it's just acting out of the need to know the truth. And I think that need is more important than anything else. Because it's like, if I'm not living my life truthfully, then how am I living my life? And the only way I could live my life truthfully is by the Quran, because the Quran is the truth. That's crazy. We just have the truth just sitting at our homes, some on our bookshelves. That's insane. Anyway, I hope you guys like this episode. Forgive the casual nature of it all. And I hope you benefited from this. If I missed anything, which I most definitely did, let me know in the comments of anything that you would like me to know about this chapter. Because I would love to know everything, actually. It's just the human brain can only be so fast in processing all of this. I'm trying, though. We're all trying, I hope. Anyway, I will see you next time in the next episode. And until then, have an amazing day. Bye-bye.